All right. Once again, I'm Mark Giles. I educate home buyers, real estate investors, business owners. That's my commitment. I'm a licensed mortgage loan originator right here in New York State, Connecticut, and New Jersey. I have a realtor license as well as insurance license. I got a lot of knowledge I like to share and impart. My passion is to educate home buyers about the home buying process. And today I'll be answering questions about buying a house with a corporation, all right, or an LLC. We're going to do an overview about the pros and the cons. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant, but I've been doing a lot of this and I work with a lot of lawyers and accountants. So this is good information, but I will advise to get the advice of a good lawyer or an accountant before you start, in taking on endeavors. But education goes a long way. I found that a lot of lawyers and accountants, sometimes they're very knowledgeable, but they're good at what they do. And some lawyers are very good at corporate education, and they can help you learn more and take you down a pathway to buy houses and do real estate deals with corporations. While others, they don't quite know, but they'll give you their best guess. Just like a doctor, we all specialize in different areas. Even realtors, some realtors specialize in rentals, some specialize in listings, some specialize in sales. And so you want to find a lawyer who specializes in corporations. But one of the things I've found also is that when you are setting up a corporation, getting the information from the attorney is easier if you've done your own homework. So I advise you to learn about corporations, even superficially, so that when you go see an attorney, you're not looking for a lesson, you're actually telling the attorney what you need done, and they can guide you so that you can do what you want to do with your corporation or your LLC. So what is an LLC? It's a limited liability company. And these are some of the things we're going to cover today. What is an LLC? Reasons to consider purchasing or refinancing a home under an LLC. And we're just going to talk about some of the pros and cons of buying a house in a corporation or an LLC. So I want you to just, ask any questions at any time, because that's what this is. It's an interactive discussion, not just a tutorial. All right. So we're here to learn and grow together. And we'll be doing more of these every week. So what is an LLC? It's a limited liability company. It's a business entity with its own assets and incomes. So in America, LLC and a corporation are considered almost like actual people. So just like you have your own person and you can go out and establish a business as a sole proprietor, you can buy assets, you can rent a storefront in your own name, you can rent a storefront in an LLC name as well, or a corporation name. And the same with a house. LLC can borrow money, an LLC can sell a house, it can buy a house. And the beauty of the LLC or the corporation is that you are the steerer of the ship. So you get to own it and you get to decide what it will and will not do. And it has its own mission statement. You're the creator of the mission. And in the LLC, it's an operating agreement. You create the operating agreement. You decide what this entity is going to do. So as such, it can purchase real estate, including houses, businesses, for any reason that's outlined in its articles of organization. Right. So the articles of organization is what spells out the mission of what this entity that you created can and will do. So you get to decide. You're the perfect creator, and you get to decide what's going to happen here. And that's the beauty of the LLC. Okay, so, I think I skipped one. Oh yeah, so what is the reasons that we would consider purchasing or even refinancing a home under? It could be a home, apartment building, any kind of real estate that you might consider owning. You can do it in an LLC. So we'll get into a little more into that. Now, reasons to consider purchasing or refinancing a home under an LLC. It could be, like we said, it doesn't have to be a home. It could be a mixed-use property. It could be an apartment, condo. Some co-op projects might not want you to. Now, a co-op is actually a corporation, right? Co-op is a short term for cooperation. So basically, when you're buying into a co-op, you're buying shares of stock into a corporation, and the corporation actually owns the property. You don't actually own the property. You get a lease, a proprietary lease, and you get some shares of stock. So a lot of people don't realize that when they buy a co-op, they're actually buying real estate through a corporation, and it doesn't have to end there. So the reason one of the reasons that I'm sharing this knowledge is that when you're buying into a co-op, we have this notion that there's these people who set this up, which they did. It's a co-op building, and you're buying into it. Now I own a piece of this and I just live here. But a lot of times we don't think about how we could create our own corporation and buy a property and then sell the shares to other people, right? Same knowledge, same practice, but what it is that you're approaching it from a different standpoint. Now you're approaching it as a creator, as opposed to a person who's just participating in something so you can live a better life. There's nothing wrong with either one, but it's just a difference. And so by studying how corporations and LLCs work, you can begin to learn how to work with other people, other investors, other people who are like-minded, so that you can buy real estate and do things that you might not be able to do on your own. Okay, so some of the things to consider: purchasing or refinancing a home under an LLC. Now I say home here, but like I said, it doesn't have to be a home. It could be a gas station, it could be a franchise in Starbucks. It could be whatever you want it to be. You're the creator. Okay, number one is you can get to separate your personal and your business finances. So for example, let's say you do own this property, it's in another state, and somebody slips and falls, breaks an ankle on your property. That is not cool, right? So now they want to sue you, and they're coming after your house in New York when the house that they broke their ankle in is in California. Why should they be able to go after your personal assets? If you structure your LLC, the ownership of that property with the LLC properly, they will not be able to go after your personal assets. They would just sue the LLC that owns that house, and the lawsuit would only go as far as that. One of the things you need to know also is that your LLC or corporation has to be run properly. If it's not being run properly, you may not benefit from the protection. But this is why you need a good lawyer who understands how these things work. Once again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant, I'm a real estate guy, I'm a finance guy. I lend people money. That's what I do. I lend people money to buy real estate. I've been doing it for 20 years, and I've seen winners and losers, and I've seen a lot. And let's continue. It's just stories after stories. I'm sure you guys have seen similar things, but limited liability protection. So liability protection, that's what we just discussed. If somebody's in California, they break your ankle, they want to sue you, your liability, if you structure things right, would be limited to that property. Another thing is the pass-through taxation. So two things. One is the liability protection. Another benefit is taxation. We hear in the news, we hear all the time people saying things like, oh, corporations don't pay taxes. It's just a common notion. And, we even heard President Trump get up there and brag about how he didn't pay taxes. And a lot of people got upset with him, or with the notion that he doesn't, this idea or the notion that he doesn't pay. But as opposed to getting upset, why don't we study what these people are doing legally, ethically, and morally by following the tax codes, so that we can pay our taxes in a way that limits the amount of taxes that we pay. So you can benefit society as well as yourself, legally, ethically, and morally, right? It's about business. The next thing, does anybody have any questions? Feel free to chime in. Ask.
I did have a question. I sent it via chat.
Oh, you did? Oh, nice.
Yes, I did.
Let's get my chat going here. All right. Security, more, chat. Okay, you have an S Corp. Would the details we learn here apply today? Yes, it can. Okay, so the S Corp, as opposed to a C Corp, that is a tax strategy. So with the S Corp, you have a lot of individual, like doctors, individual practitioners, realtors, right? I have a real estate license and I have an S corp, right? So what happens is the money that you make, the way it's taxed is not to the corporation directly because the money flows through to you, the owner of the S corp. And that's good because you avoid what they call double taxation. So typically the C corp, and the C corp is just a regular corporation. So if the C corp makes $100,000 and it gets taxed, it pays taxes on the $100,000 that it made. Now the C corp might pay you a salary, and now your salary that you received is also going to get taxed. But with the S corp, what happens is the money just flows right through to you, so they don't tax the corporation, it just taxes you directly. And depending on your goals, right, there's no one way that everything is perfectly done. Depends on your goals, your strategy, your deadline, where you want to be and what you want to achieve would determine whether you should have an S corp or a C corp. I've noticed that a lot of accountants and financial planners and attorneys will just tell you, hey, S corp, just do that, you'll be good. But I've heard some real strategic attorneys who will tell you why a C corp might be your best choice. But once again, it really comes down to what your goals are, and everybody's different. So let's continue.
I have a question, girls.
Yes, sir.
Question is that I already have a, can you make a new LLC and put your existing house in there?
You can do that. Absolutely. That's the deed transfer.
So if I do that, will I be benefited? What kind of benefit? I mean, I know that, limited liability, but will I get any kind of tax benefit on that one?
Yes. Now, remember, we talked about the C corp and the S corp. So I just want to point out one thing, though. Is your house does it have a mortgage on it?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so when you go to the mortgage closing, you're signing a document at the closing where they ask you not to do that, right? And they tell you if you change move your house to if you just move it out of your name, even if you change it to your sister's name, that they can accelerate the mortgage and just ask for all their money, right? So I just want to put that out there. It doesn't stop a lot of people from transferring the property, just so you know. But
so,
yeah.
Do you think it's better to make sure with them? I mean, they will. I mean, every mortgage company will say that, right?
Yeah, exactly, right. Just like in New York City, you're not supposed to rent out your basement.
Right, 90% people does it.
Right. So, but I'm a mortgage loan officer, and I need to put that disclaimer out there because this is what that's the creed, right? That's the standard.
In a legal way, but if I want to, I could do it. And I mean, there is a risk. There is a risk of losing the money that I paid for already, right?
Yeah.
But people are doing it. That's what you say.
Yeah, people are doing it. Yes. And I'm not advising you to do it, or, I'm just saying, this is what people are doing. I've seen them do it. People speed on the highway. They go 65, right? That's just what people do. So what I'm saying is, yes, you can transfer a property, can be transferred into a corporation at any time.
Got it. My whole point is, like, if I transfer my old house to a corporation, later on, if I buy another house, I could put that on that LLC. So I'll have two houses in one LLC. Then I could run a business instead of, doing, and, because what happened when COVID hit, there's a lot, small business loan that as a personal homeowner, I can't even go for it. But if I had an LLC, I would have applied for those loans and get it.
Hello, that's right. EDIL, I got mine. And also as a sole owner and worker, you are eligible for the PPP loan.
Right. That's what I said. So we missed out. A lot of people like because my house is under me and my brother name, right? And he drives for Uber, but he has his own account. So what I'm saying is, if me and my brother had an LLC and under our name,
yes.
We had the house, we could even tell them, like, we work in the house, we do renovation, we do all the, as a worker, I could have worked there and get the PPP loans.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's too late right now, but I'm just thinking, it's a thought right now just came out in my mind.
Hindsight is 20/20. And
right.
In truth, America, when you really look at the way it's built, the corporations, like we all know, I mean, you listen to the news every night, people always say corporations are running America. Corporations are not paying taxes. Corporations are the ones who are thriving and winning. You know, I don't see why every American wouldn't own a corporation and do some sort of business. I mean, that's just the American way. You know what I mean?
Got it.
So, and even if you look back in time, when you look at, you know, it's not a nice topic, but even the slave trade, right? All of that was done in corporations, right? The king would charter a corporation and send these guys out there to do his dirty work.
Yeah,
And
because they don't want to take the responsibility. It's responsible the LLC.
hey, right.
Question.
Yes.
Now, he was saying he wanted to put his properties under the LLC. If he got another property and put it under the same LLC.
Very
If
good point.
someone
Yep.
was to sue him for that first property that has nothing to do with the other property, they
Mhm.
have access to that other property in the suit. Isn't it best to him to have separate LLCs for each property so that they're each protected separately?
Yes, I talked to a lot of attorneys, and that's always the way to go. Every property should have its own corporation,
Entity.
LLC, owned by its own entity. Yes.
But I heard like in a single LLC, you could have like their own entity of it, like a LLC, but it's the own entity of that LLC, like a
Oh,
sub LLC.
yeah, I got what you're saying. So one LLC can actually own another LLC,
Right.
but
I'm sorry, from a business background, so I'm just saying all this stuff.
but in terms of liability protection, you ideally would want each property to be owned in a separate LLC. So if you have 3 properties, you'd have 3 LLCs. And then like what you're saying, I guess, is one LLC can own the 3 LLCs, like a holding.
Right. So instead of putting 100%, the main LLC will have 50%, other LLC will have 30%, 30%, 30% on that one.
Yes.
So this is a chain of thought. I'm just, saying.
This is an excellent discussion. I really appreciate you guys, man. This is good. We need to be building and vibing like this, because this is where we need to go in owning our own corporation.
No, I'm a aspiring, because I want to be a real estate agent, because I've been taking the courses. I mean, and we spoke before, we spoke before. My name is Amit. I mean, if you remember or not, we spoke before.
I do. I recall. Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened is that, I work as a product manager right now. So I'm thinking about real estate moving on. So the reason I joined today is to know how the things work, and, not even going to real estate, but benefiting, but just knowing those stuff, because I didn't know when I first bought my house that I could do an LLC and I could have saved so much money on taxes or like liability that I had.
Oh, yes. And, it really makes sense for us to, you can go to Barnes and Nobles or go on Amazon and buy a book on taxes. I recommend everybody does it, because they tell you, I mean, there's so many rules and ways that you can legally, ethically, and morally reduce your tax burden using a corporation. But corporation is really the way to go. If you want to really reduce your tax burden, reduce your liability, corporation or an LLC, that's just the way it is in America. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the cons. Right? It's not always perfect, but some of the cons that one might consider owning a property in a LLC or a corporation is like we said earlier, the mortgage company may not like for you to transfer the house out of your name, right? And that doesn't just mean a corporation. It means transferring it to your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother. If you borrowed money against the house, typically the mortgage company wants you to keep that mortgage in your name in that house, right? So I'll leave it at that. I needed to say that. Next thing is the learning curve. There's books to read, things to learn. One of the reasons I'm doing these weekly workshops is because it helps when we all discuss and keep this kind of conversation going, because it's not most people don't talk about these things. So if we can all share and learn, we all can learn from each other and grow and build together. And I have a membership site that I put together. I'll share that link with you when we finish, so you can join free membership, and we can all and I'll be saving all of these videos so you can rewatch them, and send me information if you want to learn more about any type of topics. I'd be more than happy to bring them, and we'll be bringing guest speakers as well. Okay, also access to financing is one of the main cons. One of the main cons, because many prospective home buyers need FHA programs, Fannie Mae conventional mortgages, and those mortgages are not lending to corporations. So in America, there's basically two entities that purchase the majority of loans that are made in America. That's Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They drive pretty much everything that happens with lending in America for mortgages, and they set the agenda, and that agenda is set through Congress, because those entities are quasi-governmental owned agencies. So when Congress makes laws regarding mortgages, it impacts Fannie and Freddie immediately, and that determines what they will and will not buy from mortgage lenders. So if you go to any bank in America, I'd say 95% of them are immediately selling that loan to Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. It's gone. So if Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac decide they're not lending to corporations, and they have decided that, then you're not going to get your corporation a mortgage to those two entities. And then FHA is a first-time home buyer mortgage insurance program. So they definitely don't lend to corporations. So that's one of the cons, is when you're buying a house and you want to put it in a corporate name, majority of the lenders will not allow you to do that. If you are an investor, there are lenders. I'm a mortgage broker, so I know all the different lenders, but there are a lot of lenders who will lend to a corporation. There are some lenders that we have that will only lend to corporations because you're an investor and that's the only way they go. But they'll hold on to those loans. So they actually portfolio those loans, keep them right in the pipeline, and they send you the bill every month. Any questions on that? It's a lot of information.
So just you're saying that so if you try to buy a house in LLC, you gotta put 20% down payment. That's what is basic simple math in that one.
I would say typically that's probably the general rule. If you're buying in an LLC, they'll want to see some cash coming out of your what they call it, skin in the game, right? Yes, absolutely. Generally, you won't find 100% financing to an LLC. But let me tell you something. This is what a lot of people don't realize, is that when you have an LLC, remember we talked earlier about the co-op apartment?
Right.
Think about that notion. A lot of us, when we're buying our first home, we'll go to mom and dad and ask for a gift. We'll go to our brother and say, hey, I need a co-signer. Can you co-sign for me? We always need help, right? But when it comes to buying investment properties, for some reason, I'll say from my own experience, I haven't seen a lot of investors that I work with use that same type of, what would you say, cooperation, right? They won't go out and say, hey, brother, I'm buying this investment property. I need a loan. Well, would you co-sign for me? They don't do it. I don't know why, but I just haven't seen that kind of motivation. They do it for owner occupied, but when they want to buy investment. But if you have a corporation, that is the perfect tool, or a limited liability company, because you have different members. It's a perfect tool to invite other people to come and invest with you, because that's what it's designed for. It's designed for people to cooperate with each other. And you have an operating agreement, and it expels out all of the different things that will and will not occur, and this corporation will and will not do in its existence. So that is something that we should explore more, because it's designed to force us to cooperate with each other. And we all own shares. And if I want to get out of the investment, I can sell my shares. That's the whole notion of the corporation. So scraping together 20% down should not be a problem if it's a good investment. If it's a bad investment, nobody's going to want to participate.
Got it. Yeah. Makes sense.
Makes sense, right? Yeah, that's something that I invite a lot of people to explore deeper, because I don't know why we stay away from that. All right, so let's move on to the next. Share the screen. All right, so we talked about the cons. Okay, some of the pros. We talked about the liability, protect your personal assets. So somebody comes to you, or you go to one of your family members, you say, hey, I found this super duper property. We can buy it for $100,000 and sell it for $500,000 tomorrow, as is. I have 50,000. Can you put in 50,000 and we'll have 100, and then tomorrow we'll sell it and we'll make $200,000 each, right? So you buy it, and you are protected if the property is purchased in the corporation or the limited liability. somebody cracks, hurts themselves on the property, they won't come and sue you for your car or your personal house, because it'll be protected, because it's owned by a separate entity. But your paperwork must be designed and done the right way. So you'd have to go to a lawyer. And once again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm a finance guy, right? I'm a finance and real estate person. So you'd have to get yourself a lawyer to design your books and records. One other thing that I wanted to share also is the keeping of the books and the records is paramount. The way you run your corporation, you should be having quarterly meetings. You should be having your annual meetings. You should have your shareholder meetings. The company should have its own address. It should have its own phone number. It should have its own email address. It should have its own, it should be almost like an entity that exists on its own. Because when somebody tries to sue you, the first thing they're going to try and prove is that the corporation doesn't exist. And I saw that with a client of mine years ago. He didn't take care of any of his paperwork with these corporations, and somebody slipped and broke their ankle on one of his 10 properties. And when they broke their ankle, they sued him. And the first thing he said is, hey, that house is owned by this corporation, so back away. All you can get is what's here. They sued him for $1 million. And this guy was an older gentleman, and he, I guess he owned these properties in the 70s when a lot of insurance companies weren't lending in the Bronx. And for some reason, this guy just didn't upgrade his insurance as the years went by. And I don't think he had insurance. So they sued him directly to that corporation. But when they realized that he didn't have any books or records, all he had was the blank sheets of paper. I should say they weren't blank. They were pieces of paper that the attorney gave him when the corporation was set up. He never set up his articles of incorporation. He didn't have any corporate meetings. He didn't have any books of minutes or records or anything. And so the people suing him asked the judge to just, say, hey, look, we want you, Mr. Judge, to determine that there is no corporation, because this guy was not running his corporation like a corporation. Corporations do certain things when they are running a business, and he wasn't doing any of those things. So the judge said, okay, you can sue him directly. We're going to just pretend like this corporation never existed. And they sued him and went after all 10 of his houses.
What are you supposed to put? What are you supposed to do in these meetings and to put down, especially if you are the only.
Mm-hmm. You're supposed to keep minutes. Okay, so when you set up a corporation or one of these companies, you usually have a president, secretary, and a vice president. And these folks are supposed to have meetings. And they're supposed to say, hey, we think we're going to open up a bank account. And when they say that, they don't just say it, they write it down. We had a meeting, and at this meeting, an idea was brought up to open a bank account at Citibank. And all those in favor said a yay, and those who were not, were opposed, raised their hand. And the bottom line is the corporation decided to open this account with this bank. And that's a meeting. It should be written down and kept in your minutes. That shows that you are doing activities as a corporation. But most people don't do that. When we lend money to when we arrange mortgage loans for people to get money for their corporation, they always bring their corporate books in, and it's just a bunch of papers that aren't just areas and they were supposed to sign and do things and fill out. They don't do it. Most people that I've seen don't do it. They just don't do it. And it's all good until somebody sues you. And now your corporation, because the guy suing you is going to want your corporation to not exist. He's going to want to go after you directly if you have assets. So that's something you want to learn how to do. Have the meetings, keep your papers straight. It's not hard to do.
I have the papers. Nothing's in them, like you said. They're blank. So,
I got a book right here. Because what you do, you go to this accountant, you ask him to set up the thing, he charges you actually, couple $100, calls you down, hands you the book, a little clip, so you can put your seal on the papers. I've done it when I first started out, and you're happy. You just throw the book on the shelf, and you're like, all right, open a bank account, and you just never look at it. It's all good until you get sued. And then what happened is that gentleman was ironic, is the person who referred me to him was his attorney. And I asked his attorney, like, just out of curiosity, I'm not pointing fingers, but why didn't he put his books in, why didn't he keep his records proper? And the attorney said the attorney said that gentleman did not pay the attorney's bills. So the attorney had billed him to do services for him. And the guy, I guess he just didn't want to be bothered. He never paid the bills. So the attorney never did the work. And that's just.
Couple of bucks killed him for $1 million.
Yeah, $1 million. We lent him $1 million. I remember that. And that went, and here's the sad part of it. When they sued him, the sheriff came out, and the sheriff went to his properties and gave every tenant in every one of his properties a letter saying, if you pay this guy your rent, you could go to prison.
What?
Now on, yep, we are the sheriff. You will be paying us. And that's what they did.
Yeah, because they had to pay. Because they had to pay.
The deal was the sheriff was there to collect the money, the judgment. So he got sued. The woman won a judgment against him. So when somebody wins a judgment against you, that means the court is saying that you must pay this person. So if you have assets, the court can actually take those assets and sell them. They can actually go, if you have a store, they can go in there and take money right out the cash. The sheriff can go in and take the money out the cash register. They do that for taxes. My mother worked for the New York State Tax Department. She was a tax collector. And she told me stories of how they would go to the gas station, pump the gas, take the cash from the customers until they got all the money that they were due. So the sheriff collecting the money in a judgment is similar. They can go after your asset. They have the authority of the court to take whatever they need. You don't want to be that person on that other side. So,
well, this is US. The tax is the worst thing that you could go follow you,
yeah.
People can do murder and they could get out with it, but with the tax money, they're gonna always come and haunt you.
Yes. So that's food for thought right there. Okay, so let's go back to this screen share here. I saw somebody sent a chat. Let me see if I can get that.
Someone left, that's why.
Is it a good idea to buy tax liens? If so, I hear a lot of people say the tax liens are a good opportunity to buy. That's one thing I've done some study on it, but yes, I would say there's money to be made there. That'd be a good topic to talk about, tax liens. I will bring that up in a future workshop. That's perfect. Yeah, we will do that. All right, and like I said, we're recording all of these in the membership site, so you'll be able to get in there for free and just access all the past stuff we talk about. Okay, Wally had to leave. That's okay. We'll see you. Okay, so let's recap real quick. Okay. All right. The cons. Well, how long does a home appraisal take? That's another topic, but learning curve is one of the cons. Now, the learning curve doesn't have to be a con. It can also be a pro because we have time to learn. While you're not getting sued and while you're in a safe place, this is the time to learn these things and implement them with the tax strategies. It's not a good time to do your tax planning at the end of the year. You want to do it in the beginning of the year. And so learning curve on one hand, yes, might be a little pain, but the truth is it brings opportunity. Access to financing is a con because typically if you're going to get your corporation financed, you're going to pay a slightly higher interest rate and it's going to require more down payment. But if you're going to do a corporate purchase, it will be for an investment property. So it should be a great deal. So even if the interest rate is a little higher, the deal should be really amazing. And that's why you're willing to pay a little higher and you're willing to bring in partners so that you can all chip in and take advantage of this opportunity. Some of the pros, definitely protection of your personal assets. The charging order, that is, that protects you. That's what we were talking about when there's different partners if you put your paperwork together properly, if one of the partners gets sued, everybody doesn't get sued. So that protects you as well. And then of course there's privacy. I didn't talk about that. So if you're a very wealthy person, or if you just don't want your tenants to know who you are, today people can go right on Google, look where you live, see what your house looks like. You know, you might be the boss working in the office. You can go see what your boss's house looks like right on, you know, public information. But now if your boss put his house in the LLC and he did some other things to protect the, you know, have it anonymous so you can't see who owns the LLC, then you might see that he lives there, but you would never know whether or not he actually owns that property. And so I'm sure there's a lot of celebrities who own real estate throughout New York City, but they won't have their names on all of these properties because it's just not a good idea, because they become targets. And if you got money and your name is, you know, people know who you are. You don't want to be a target. That's the real deal. So privacy is very important. Also, there's no cost to sit down and discuss real estate with a real, you know, I'm more than happy to talk to you about, you know, buying real estate. We do a lot of first-time home buyer loans, FHA, conventional mortgages, things like that. We're helping a lot of first-time home buyers, a lot of education. That's why we're doing these workshops to educate people like yourselves. And I learn a lot doing this as well. So it really helps me. So any other questions, feel free. Be more than happy to answer them. Next week, we're going to be talking about how you can qualify as a self-employed home buyer. That's important. It's important for our clients as well as you. You know, if you have clients, if you're in the real estate, you need to know how that works. And this is the link for our membership site. It's at tracknewleads.com. Join now. If you want to join the membership site, it should be all set up. I think this is the first wave of membership. So if it's a little quirky, please forgive us, but we're putting it together now. And constantly, we're going to be doing more videos. I'm going to start seeing if I could do 2 or 3 of these a week even, because there's so much information and knowledge that I've learned over the years, and I really want to catalog it and put it all there, and bring in some guests, some expert witnesses, maybe an attorney. We'll get attorneys in here, financial planners. I deal with these guys all the time, but just for knowledge. We're not selling anything here. This is about educating ourselves so we can take our community to the next level. And this is presented by the Center for Homeownership and Community Enterprise. That's a non-for-profit, and that's what this is about, just educating so we can all uplift and become wealthier. Knowledge applied is wealth. So during the week, if you come across something, you have any questions, feel free to call me, text me. If you have any ideas of things that we should talk about. I got tax liens down. We'll be doing something specifically on tax liens. And another thing is, we're in New York. New York is different than any other state. We do different business differently here. I'm licensed in New York, Connecticut, New Jersey. I was doing business. I used to be licensed in Florida. And I can tell you that it's very expensive here in New York. And the hurdles that we have to overcome here to do business, and it's much higher for some reason. I don't know why, but something that I've just noticed over the years. We got another question. Real estate investment trust. Yes, that is a good idea. Once again, learning curve. We can do a show on the real estate investment trust, and it's a trust, but it's similar to the limited liability where you have partners and people can participate. That's the whole concept behind it, is people can participate and join together and grow together and feel confident and comfortable that they made a good decision. Just like the co-op apartment building. When people buy a co-op in an apartment building, for some reason, they let their guard, well, I don't want to say they let the guard down, because they do hire an attorney, but they'll go to the building, they'll see the apartment, and that's it. I want this apartment. I want to move in. But for some reason, they're not totally thinking the same way they would if they were putting their money in a real estate investment trust. And I think part of it is because they're living there. I think that's the beauty of home ownership. They're going to enjoy it. But at the same time, due diligence must be done. So when we're financing co-op apartments, we're, as a lender, from a lender's perspective, we're concerned. How is this building being run? That's the real deal. How is this building being run? And not how it looks. We're talking about how are they handling their insurance, their finances? Are they paying their bills on time? Is anybody suing them right now? These are the things that we're looking into. But most people who are buying co-ops, doesn't even dawn on them to ask these questions. But thank God they hire an attorney, and the attorney does the UCC lien search, and the bank does all of these background checks to make sure that they do a co-op questionnaire, like a bunch of questions that they ask. These are the questions that, so my point by saying that is, we should be able to get the same level of comfort working with each other in an LLC, a real estate investment trust, or any type of real estate investment if we do our due diligence, right? But that's the learning curve. What questions should I ask? How do I double check to make sure this is a real good investment, right? These are the things we should be looking at without fearing. Yes.
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, I thought with trusts, you don't get involved in the properties because they could be anywhere in the world and basically do the trust.
It's true. Yes, that's right. Yeah, it's like, just because you put $50,000 in the real estate investment trust does not mean you can go over to that property and, and put a key in the door. No, you don't. If you go to the property and act inappropriately, you'll be escorted off the property. Even if it's in a public place, or if you don't belong there, they will. It doesn't matter. It's just like if you bought 1,000 shares of stock in Uber, right? That doesn't entitle you to a free Uber ride. You don't have, all you have is the shares of stock. That's it. And it's the same with the real estate investment trust. You bought into it. That's all you got is that particular investment, but you don't get to, go sample the properties. I mean, if it's in Manhattan, you can drive by it and say, oh, look, my real estate investment trust that I invest in, they own that building. And somehow I'm receiving money as a result of them owning that building. But that doesn't give you a key to go in any door.
Okay, how do you get into something like that?
Well, that's Wall Street. You go right on. I mean, that's okay. So we have to do a learning course on that too. We can dig into that and do a workshop on a real estate investment trust. That's a great topic. It's a lot to cover, more time than we have right now, but I would definitely put that on the list. Real estate investment trust. It is a part of real estate, because you can even create your own real estate investment trust. You create your own, you can buy into somebody else's. It's basically an investment. And your bottom line, when we're talking investment, you want to put in $1 and see it turn into $2. You want to see the value of your investment increase. And when you're buying real estate or buying any asset, we need to focus on buying things that increase in value and generate income. Those are the two keys that you want to look at.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Hi, Mark. This is Mildred. How are you?
Hey, Mildred. How you doing? All right.
I'm fine. Thank you. 2 questions. I'm an agent. I have an LLC.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to buy any properties. I just have an LLC for tax purposes.
Yes.
As an agent.
Yes.
Okay. So do I still have to have meetings and keep papers and everything in order? I still should do that as the owner of that LLC?
I would say yes, in that it is a good practice. So here's the logic, right? Let's just walk through a scenario. You're doing it as a business owner. So for asset protection, you don't want somebody to sue you and go after your house. So you're doing a real estate transaction. I can't imagine what could go wrong this bad, but let's say the transaction goes south, they decide to sue Mildred, right? If you are doing business in the LLC, technically speaking, I mean, your goal by setting up the LLC is so that if they do sue you, it would only go as far as your company. They're suing your company. They're not suing Mildred, right?
Okay.
You got to talk to an attorney on that, because logically, I would think that because you're a licensed agent, maybe.
And how often do you have to have these meetings? Regularly?
Well, quarterly meetings, and regularly, whenever you could do quarterly meetings, you could do a special meeting. All right. So if you come up with something to say, so that Mildred has her LLC, right? And she may say in her operating agreement that she's there to do real estate. But then one day it dawns on her she wants to sell cars. So she can have a meeting between the president, vice president, and the secretary. There was a meeting, and we decided, it was brought up that the idea that we should sell cars, and we took a vote. And we voted, and now we're selling cars. All those in favor said yay. All three, we're selling cars. So now we bought a car. So Mildred is doing this for tax purposes, right? So Mildred bought and sold 3 cars all of a sudden. And the IRS is like, hey, you're supposed to be in real estate. You can't, write off stuff buying and selling cars. So Mildred would say, well, we had a meeting right here in the minutes. On this date and time, we said, we're selling cars. And the IRS will say, oh, okay, I get it. It makes sense.
So you can even have a meeting and say no new business, and that could be the meeting, and that's it. And just even do that.
No new, yeah, you could do that
Yeah.
too. Yes. In fact, a lot of corporations, they say we are doing business for all lawful purposes. There was a time, I think, when you had to be real specific about what you were doing, but some corporations could just throw on their operating agreement, any lawful purpose. But you're the creator. I think behind all of this is that you're the creator. And I think that we need to start embracing ourselves as the creators, because this is our creations.
Mhm.
I always tell people, like, when you were born, right? We were given a sheet of paper. Your parents got a sheet of paper, a certificate, and they had to put your feet, stamp your feet and your hands on there, created a certificate. And then your mom came up with a name, Mildred. And now Mildred existed, right? But prior to that, there was no Mildred, right? You were there, but until they said, let there be Mildred, there was no Mildred, right? But they created you. They created Mildred, right? You came out of your mom's womb, you were there, but they created Mildred. So just like they created Mildred, you can create what's the name of your LLC?
Millie's Real Estate.
What is it? Millie's Real Estate?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's your creation.
LLC, yeah.
You created that.
Yes.
Right. It didn't exist. And then now another concept is, where does the authority come from to create that LLC? And in America, it comes from the state. So each state gives you the authority to create a corporation. So you can create a corporation in any different state you want, or a LLC. And before the state, the corporations were created by the king. Over in England, the king would charter a corporation and send people out to do his bidding. But that's another story. Point I'm making is that prior to all of this, you have to acknowledge, I think it's important that we start to embrace the idea that we are creating this, just like a painter or a piano player writing a song. We're creating a corporation. So business is actually beautiful because it's a very creative practice, and we can create whatever we want. And you create a corporation, you create a couple bank accounts, you create a product, you tell people this is the product, they like the product, they buy the product, you put the money in the bank account. It's all created by you. You made it all up. Although the authority comes from the state, but you create that too, because you decide what state you want to create it in. Right? And then even the license comes from the state, but you created that because you decided, I wanted to get this license, a real estate license. So if you want to sell cars, you get a car dealer license. That's whatever you want to do is just you. And this is the beauty of it.
I just have a quick question. The question is, for example, if I live in New York, but can I open an LLC in a different state? Because different state has, different tax purpose, to save money. For example, I live in New York. If I want to, open an LLC in Mississippi, because I think they have one of the craziest law about tax files.
Yes.
Idaho or something like that. You could open LLC. Do I have to be there? I mean, I know I gotta be there one day to open the LLC.
No, the answer is no, you do not have to be there. You can open up corporations. And like you said, in different states, there's different benefits to doing business in those states. So no, you don't have to be there. And so you learn how to do it. And, we all communicate, we build and grow together, and we can start educating each other as to what the benefits in different states are. I have a friend, I call him friend. One of my clients, who's a friend, I see all my clients as friends. He lives in Mount Vernon. He's a builder. And every time I'm talking to him every other week, he's in a different state. Right now, he's in St. Louis. He texted me and said, Mark, I just bought a house for $15,000. I'm like, wow, send me the picture of the house. And these are conversations I'm having every day with so many different people. And this is why I'm doing these workshops, because it's like so much information is coming so fast. And I'm dealing with such great people like yourselves, and we can do this. It's happening. And he's down there buying these houses like right now, 15,000. He's saying he's going to put 100 grand in it and sell it for 250. Wow. I'm like, send me some. I would like to buy one, but it's worth exploring and learning how to do business in different states, because people are doing it. It is happening right now. We can do it. So with that in mind, I think we are pretty much, let me see if I have anything.
One other question. Okay. Speaking of that, my S corpus, I opened mine in Nevada because I was told.
See, yeah, look at that. Who told you that? Just out of curiosity.
I went to a seminar and they advised me to do it in Nevada, which I did that.
Yes.
And they said that it could be less apt sued if it was to do that.
Yes.
Go to the meeting at 5:45 p.m.
I'm sorry about that. That's my Lex reminding me something. So it's going to repeat itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that.
The only meeting at 5:45 p.m.
The only problem is that I get charged every year to register to keep it up, everything up to date.
Right.
That's the problem. So do all of them do that? If you do it from another state, I'm thinking about just changing it just for that reason, because it's basically they charge you to take care of everything for you because you're doing it, because you're not in that state, basically.
What are you doing with the corporation? You own real estate with it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, you really should dig a little deeper and understand the benefits of doing that. So, because remember, you're the creator, right? So you should understand the strategy behind why you did that. So if you notice, Kanye West and his wife are breaking up, and now all of a sudden he lives in Wyoming. You notice that?
Yes.
There's a reason why.
Oh, really?
Can't get all his money.
Yeah.
She can't get all his money.
They have excellent asset protection laws. Well, they have asset protection laws in Wyoming that don't exist in other states. It's different ways of doing business. But you got to learn what your goals are, why you're doing it. Like some people, it's important to them to be anonymous. They want to own all these real estate, but they don't want people to ever find out that they own it. And so you got to do business in different states that will help you protect your.
Yeah, that was also one of the reasons they said they protect your ass to be more protected if I do it. And
but now if you could care less about who knows what you own, in fact, you put it in your own name if you could, then there's no benefit in being in that state, if that's why it's over. You know what I mean? So you really got to dig a little deeper and find out, what are the benefits of having this Nevada corporation? Do I really need that? Don't just do it to save a few bucks. Because like our friend, he didn't want to pay his insurance and he didn't want to take care of his paperwork and pay his attorney. And look what happened. He got sued and he lost everything.
Okay.
So it's not always just about saving a few dollars. You can look at what you're losing, or sometimes you're paying money and you're saving more than and you don't even realize it. All you're looking at is the $600 a year you're paying, when if it was in a different state, you'd be paying $3,000, not even realizing that that's what it would be. So really, you know, I'd say do your homework, do your homework. That's the learning curve. That's one of the biggest challenges, the biggest cons I put up.
So then it's simple, something simple to do. If you were to change your mind and then just say, okay, I want to go back, might want to go back and establish it in Nevada, that wouldn't be a big deal to
Oh, you
do.
can like take it from Nevada, bring it to New York, and then go back to Nevada, you're saying? Or
Yes, something like that, yes.
go out and do another deal with all of that energy, you know?
Okay.
I think what you should do is explore, learn, call them and ask them, you know what, okay, tell me again, why are we doing this in Nevada? And then write down all of the pros and cons, and then you decide, well, do I need those protections? Do I need those, whatever that they're offering you? And if you decide no, like we said, if you don't care if people know that you own that property,
Supposedly one of the best states to do it in.
you got to ask why. What's
Yeah.
the difference between doing that there and in New York? Let me tell you, New York is a tough town, but there's reasons why. But we need to, you should be able to say why,
Okay.
you know, as opposed to Nevada or Florida. O.J. Simpson was the perfect case also, you know, the guy moved to Florida. If you watch a lot of these guys and what they do, there's reasons why they do what they do. Like with Donald Trump, like I said, you know, instead of criticizing the guy, let's figure out what he does. How did he do that? And he stood up before the world and said, hey, I don't pay, you know.
Yeah, he expends 70,000 for his haircut. So
How did he do that? I get a haircut. How do I, you know, can I do that? Like, how did he do that? How did he structure that? And another thing we do here now, because every time somebody applies for a mortgage, we get their tax returns, we analyze people's tax returns, we get their 401k, analyze that, see how it's performing. Then what we started doing, when the person runs for president, they have to actually post their tax returns. And now they're online. You can actually grab the guy's tax returns. So we were looking at Mitt Romney's tax returns and seeing how he structures all of his, you know, how do they do that? Like, it's all right there. There's no secrets anymore. Everything can be found out. So that's why we're doing this, to at least spark your enthusiasm to go and learn more. But I'm asking you to bring it back here and share it with me too. You find those nuggets, jewels, and
if they can do it, why can we do it? It's the same law.
this is what I'm saying. Exactly. Legally, ethically.
But why didn't they get Trump's tax papers then? If you got Mitt Romney's, what?
Because he doesn't have to. It's not a law. It's not. He doesn't have to.
Yeah.
It's a tradition, but he doesn't have to.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay.
That's why. That's how he got away with it.
That's it. And then we got to ask, how did he do that? And let's dig into it. Find out, how did he do that? Yeah.
The
There's a reason
courtesy that they have, to give it.
courtesy. I hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's courtesy, but anyway, I have to go, but I enjoyed it. I have another class at 7. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for this. And thank you everyone that's on the line. Thank you.
Okay. And that's about it. We're going to wrap it up. There's my phone number. If you have any questions during the week about anything, I'm always here. You know, got nothing but great information to share. All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Next Thursday, we'll be doing another one. All right. We'll talk.
All right.